Okay, so the data collection process, this focus group discussion. So you have many questions. So I will a little bit rush through this session because it is very much similar to the FGD. Sorry, this in-depth interview. The interviewing technique is same. There are few differences which we'll talk. So you may have certain questions like, why do people opt for treatment in any hospital? So the basic difference between a focus group, when you should choose a focus group. So when you want people's opinion on any topic, rather than individual or the people consensus on anything, like any program perspective, but in that case also in-depth interview can be done. But when you want people consensus, then you should go for this focus group discussion when they make a shared decision or the shared opinion at the end of the process. So like why do people choose any treatment option, or why do people get impatient in the hospital? The other question could be, how do first year students get adjusted in the hostel life? And then how do residents cope up their stress? What are the barriers in accessing healthcare for an autistic children? So you can do a FGD with all the parents who parents of autistic children. How families decide about availing treatment for childhood diseases. So that can be done. So focus group can be a method of choice of data collection. If you want to know the people preferences or thoughts or decision or some opinion in a group. So FGD is about a group opinion, and main purpose of FGD is to explore how people think cohesively as a group. So what is a group opinion? Like I said, it is basically about exploration of the group opinion. Like if you want to do a need assessment for curriculum development, you can do FGD of undergraduate student, or for program evaluation like Anemia Mukt Bharat, you can do a group FGD. So you can see two pictures in this frame. So there is a left side picture and there is a right side. So can you tell me what are this method? The first one I'm talking of, this is the first and this is the second. So please write, what is this method of data collection in the chat box? So there is a left where the one person is talking with all other 5 people. And in the second one, people are talking among themselves also. So key informant, FGD. Interview, Purnima is writing. Ashwini wrote the first response. Okay, interview and FGD. One-to-one and FGD. So basically the first one is the group interview. So in group interview, like in this case, the one person, the moderator, is talking to all the members in the group individually, but the members are not talking to themselves. That is the group interview. And the second one is FGD, you are right. So now why to do FGD? So when you want to have a people opinion or their consensus on anything, you do a FGD. And in this case, minimum of 4 FGD is recommended when it is a chief source of data. If you are using it as a triangulation method, like in many research, you will see that people do FGD as well as in-depth interview. So if you are using it as a supplementary source of data to develop a survey question or to validate the finding, or you can use a part of the multi-method qualitative study. So what is not a focus group discussion? So you can see these 3 pictures where there are limited interaction, the first, second, and third person. Here the moderator is talking to one person only. Here the one person is dominating, and in third, no group interaction. So these 3 pictures are not the FGD. So what is the difference between the focus group and group interview? In the focus group, the researcher adopts the peripheral role as a moderator or the facilitator, whereas in group interview, the investigator, the researcher, it develops an investigative role. And in this focus group, by the diagram, it was clear that interrelational dynamics were important, and there was a lot of inter-participants conversation, and that we plot sociogram, you know, that we plot how much interaction was there, and that's how we plot the sociogram. In the group interview, the researcher controls the dynamics of the group. So in this case, the participant selection should be purposive. You should invite those participants whom you know that they will speak well and there won't be any power dynamics in the group. The moderator or the facilitator, the first is important task to the moderator is to keep the members on track, like we read about that steering thing in the in-depth interview. Encourage all participants to speak. He has to keep an eye on the time because time is important, and then he try to cover all the questions. So there are some prior plans for conducting FGD. He should identify participants, recruit participants, always recruit more number of participants, because on the day of the interview, it might be a case that participants they did not turn up. So like if you have to conduct interview for 12 people, at least call 15 or 16 people, and then or if you have to conduct interview with 8 people FGD, then call 12 people. So you should invite more number of participants. Then you should arrange logistic, develop an interview guide, and then like we said, video recording is the best, but if they don't give consent, then audio recording and notes will also do, because in video recording you can note the gestures also. So these are the 4 important things. There should be welcome and introduction of the topic once the investigator starts with the FGD. The most difficult thing with FGD is the selection of a venue, because especially if you want to conduct FGD in the field situation. Because we tried conducting few FGD with the ASHA and A&M, and because of the lack of space or there were more intrusion of people, so then we dropped the idea and we then resorted to the in-depth interview only. So that selection of a place, quiet place where there won't be any more infiltration of people and idea, that is the difficult task in conducting FGD. Conducting FGD with students, medical students, or people who are having a good position, that is easy, because then you are able to find a place. So that is there. Then again, you should introduce them with the background, tell them about the background of the topic, some ground rules, and the opening questions. So now just see this FGD. This will give you some idea regarding what to do and what not to do during the FGD.
The moderator is about to begin the actual focus group. This introduction is short and snappy and covers 4 points: a welcome and introduction to the topic, some background on the topic, ground rules for the focus group, and the opening question.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to our session. My name is Dick Kruger and I'm with the Happy Traveler Research Agency, and we're pleased you could all join us today for our focus group. We've invited you to join our discussion on airline travel. Today we're going to be talking about experiences that you've had in traveling by airplane. Experiences that within the last few years. We're going to be talking about things that have worked well for you, things you've enjoyed, as well as things that haven't gone so well. This study is being done at the request of the airline industry. As you may know, people have had a variety of experiences, and airline industries regularly are trying to improve the quality of their service. And so at the end of our study, we're going to be sharing information back with them. Also, if you're interested, we'll have a copy of the report available to you as well. Let us know if that's something that you're interested in. You were selected because you were among a group of people who have traveled fairly often over the past few years, and we're glad you're here for our group. As I indicated, my name is Dick Kruger. I'm with the Happy Traveler Research Agency, and my colleague is Mary Ann Casey, and she'll be taking notes and helping record the conversation. We're going to be tape recording today. We have a microphone in the middle of the room, and then we tape record so we don't miss any of the comments. Oftentimes people say things so well, we're not able to write them down quickly enough, and the tape recorder helps us capture those. There's just a couple ground rules that might help us. If you have a cell phone, we'd appreciate if you'd turn it off or turn it on the quiet mode. If you do need to respond to it, please step out, but then come back in as soon as possible. We have more refreshments and some chocolate over there at the side table, so help yourself to that whenever you feel a need for those things. There are no wrong answers today in our conversation. Many people have different experiences with airline travel, and so feel free to comment even if your thoughts and ideas or experiences are different from what others have to say. My job is to guide the conversation and to keep us on time and be sure that we finish at the end of our allotted 2 hours today. And so along the way, I may interrupt, I may push us along a little bit faster. That's so that we can finish our conversation on time. Well, let's take a moment. Also, by the way, we're going to be on a first name basis. We have name tents with our first names on. Let's take a moment and go around the table and find out who you are, and would you tell us your name, and then also tell us where you've traveled to by airplane in the last year, and would you name some of the cities that you've traveled to, and would you start?
I'm Jim Brown, and in the last year I've traveled.
At the beginning of a focus group, most comments are directed directly to the moderator. But as the focus group continues, the moderator will try to get people to look across the table and speak to the other participants. This is a good sign and something to be desired in your focus groups. One of the effective techniques of moderating is to use a short pause, usually about 5 seconds. This allows participants a chance to reflect and think and a chance to express their thoughts.
Okay, well, let's get started with the questions in our focus group. The first one, and we're not going to go around the table, and anyone can answer this who chooses. Tell me this. What do you like about airline travel?
Oh, I can start, Dick. I like that it gets me between two places relatively quickly.
When moderating a focus group, you'll find that some people talk too much and ramble on about a topic, and you'll need to have a strategy for how to deal with this. Here's an example of what you do when a person talks too much and how the moderator redirects the question to another participant.
All right, well, let's talk about inconveniences. In your experiences with airline travel, you may have encountered an inconvenience. May have been in the last year or a little bit before. Would you tell me about an inconvenience you've had?
Well, let me tell you, it's always around baggage, and it seems to me that there's always something that happens with my baggage when I travel. I was coming back from Bangkok. I was meant to get my baggage in LA to take it through immigration, and when I got there, couldn't find it anywhere. It just wasn't there, and I stood there and stood there and stood there, and I went behind the counter to the counter, and they said, well, you know, it's just not there, and it'll turn up eventually, and maybe it'll turn up in Minneapolis. But it's just been one long string of things after another. I mean, the baggage is always too large to fit in the overhead bin, but it's even worse when you're traveling by train, because when you're traveling by train, you have to get the baggage up from the platform, and then you have to haul it into the coach, and then you're pulling it all the way down the coach in order to get to your seat on the train, and there's never anyone there to help.
Yeah, that can be a problem. Let's hear from some others in the group. Francis, how about you? Have you had an experience with an inconvenience?
Well, I haven't had a problem with luggage because I always...
Sometimes participants do not talk very much in a focus group. One of the strategies that moderators can use is to look at those individuals and at times call on them and invite their comments. Here's an example of how it works.
Sherry, we haven't heard from you on this. What are the things that you don't like about airline travel?
Well, mostly two things, luggage and children.
Tell me about each of those. Tell me about luggage and tell me about children.
Well, with luggage, you never know if they're going to accept your carry-on or not. In some airlines, even in the same airline, sometimes the carry-on fits. They say it will fit in the overhead, and other times they take it away from me, and then I have to check it. So even though I think it's standard size, sometimes it doesn't.
One of the things that happens in a focus group is there are key moments when people start to own the group or feel like they are a group and in a discussion. Here's an example. When these things occur, Moderators often encourage these and allow people to talk across the table to each other.
All right.
You know, I want to say something else about luggage, and it relates to when planes are late. You never know if your bags will make it. And sometimes it's not your fault. You've checked it. You've done what you're supposed to do, and then they mess it up, and then you get there, you don't have, so I carry now a lot of things in my carry-on because I just have to assume it won't make it.
I never check anything. I always carry on. Never check it.
Because you just can't.
I never
risk
check
it.
The moderator.
So you have seen this, and conducting a focus group discussion, it's a bit tricky task because there is a group and involving all the people in this case also. But I am unmuted. But if you are, am I audible to all? Okay. Am I audible to all of you now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Audible.
Okay. Okay. So conducting FGD, it's a bit tricky because, you know, involving all the people, and because in a group there will be people, in this case also you have seen, who are more talkative, and there will be a few person who are less talkative. So you know, formation of a group starts from the point where everyone in the group, they start talking among themselves. And you have seen that the moderator, he takes a peripheral role. He just moderates, and the rest of the people, they start talking. So just by saying that it's a focus group discussion, we cannot say that it is a group. Group formation starts when the people start interacting among themselves, and then the actual content starts coming. So we have also tried conducting many focus groups. We did a project on alcohol ban because you know that in Bihar, it's a dry state. So when alcohol was banned, after 6 months, we conducted 54 FGD in the various districts of Bihar. And that time it was very difficult involving, and because in the rural area, even if you select a place, there will be more people who were coming, and you know, it was mostly a group interview. The actual FGD, we could not get it done because everyone was talking to me or to the facilitator. They were not talking among themselves. So maybe during the last 10 minutes, they started talking. So it will happen, like if your whole FGD is for 40 minutes or 50 minutes or maybe 30 minutes, the initial 15-20 minutes, it is like a group interview. Like you are talking and everyone is talking to you. And then maybe in the last, you take a peripheral role, and then people start talking to each other. Then the actual FGD starts. So the moderator should, all these things, you know, that he should start the session with fun and balanced participant, redirect the discussion, checks the participant. These I'm not going into the detail, though, because these are not theoretical part, and I am just skipping this. So where this should be the choice of this data collection method. When you want to explore group norm values, then it should be a data collection method. And then in this case, situation where FGD should be avoided. So if it is a sensitive topic, you should avoid doing FGD because the participant will not come up. They don't want to discuss some sensitive issues with everyone. So you should avoid doing this. If you want to explore some personal experience or personal preferences, like we did in the narrative analysis and case study, then you should avoid doing this. And if you are measuring the attitude of the person, then also you should avoid doing this focus group discussion. So the group sizes and the number of focus group to be conducted, this depends on the if you see this, all the standard textbook, they say that it is not the number of FGD which is important, but rather it is the content and the richness of the data in each FGD, it is important. But generally it is seen that if it is a good FGD, then you get 80% of the themes in 2 to 3 FGD, and in more than, if it is a 3 to 6 FGD, then it is a 90% of the theme you get. So 3 FGDs are enough to identify the most prevalent things. So there are situations when you should avoid this FGD. So like in the first, when the group is not talking. So if you have come to know that the group, like we actually did it. We tried doing FGD with the, I think who from the AIMS Patna team who conducted FGD, and then later we decided that we will not have this FGD. Anyone from the current participant? Okay, then I'll share this experience that we conducted an FGD with Asha and A&M, and it was we tried hard, but the group was not talking, and it was like a one-to-one interview. I mean, it was like a group interview. So we decided that we have converted that FGD back to the in-depth interview. So, and when the second thing is meaning attribution, that means whatever you are saying that the other people are not understanding, means the terminology is not same for everyone, then also you should try avoiding this FGD. If there are people pleasers in the group, that means they will say only those things which they think that is a socially desirable, then also this FGD is not a right platform, right way of data collection. And this theories of social interactions, this says that the individual responsibility is very less when they are in group. Because if you talk to one person, the entire onus is on that individual. So he will take responsibility to respond. But in case of a group, only few people dominates, because other people think that even if you are not speaking, nothing is going to happen. So that way, FGD is not a very good way of data collection if that social interaction is not there. And that group thinking, if it is there, then also one should not go. It is like same people pleaser, like whatever the other person is saying, I will say no, I will also say the same thing which he's saying. So I will say yes, I'm a yes man. So mostly people, they don't want to say anything, so they will flow in the way the other people are going. And if there are dishonest response also, then also this is not a good way. If there are people who dominates the discussion, like in the video you have seen, then also it is not a good way of data collection method. And the time, effort and money is more in the FGD as compared to the in-depth interview. So these are the situations where it should be avoided. So now coming to the next